Welcome to the ApostaSee Show, hosted by JLB. This presentation is being streamed via the Dark Matter Digital Network in association with the Infinite Plane Society. You can find all our episodes at the website ApostaSeeShow.com. There, you can also leave audio messages to be played during the show. New episodes are streamed every Monday beginning at 12 p.m. U.S. Eastern Standard Time. The ApostaSee Show is an entirely independent production made possible by supporters from all around the world. Check out ApostaSeeShow.com to find out how you can get involved by sharing your treasure, your time, or your talent. But what is apostasy? Apostasy is the act of giving up your religion or political beliefs and leaving behind a religion or a political party. Apostasy is embracing an opinion that is contrary to one's previous religious beliefs. One who undertakes apostasy is also known as an apostate. Basically, apostasy is the act of leaving behind your old belief system.
Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
If you have begun to peer behind the curtain, then you probably realize that you were taught things as a child which are simply not true. And you probably also realize that if you simply question the orthodoxy of our day, it can make the regular folk around you rather uncomfortable. Some people are not ready for these kinds of conversations, and in many cases, they never will be. But here at the ApostaSee Show, we're making apostasy great again. It's okay to question what we think we know. And that's the whole point of the ApostaSee Show. Now here's your host, JLB.
Yes, thank you, Serena. Now, we had some problems with that introduction last week, didn't we? So let's hope that this has worked out well this time. Why don't I check with the lovely people in the live stream chat? Was the audio okay? Was the audio working? And while we're waiting for some confirmation, this is April 18, 2021. John the Bond coming to you from beautiful Bulgaria in Eastern Europe. Another lovely day in paradise, and today is episode number 10 of the ApostaSee Show. And boy, have we got a show for you today. I'm told that the audio is good. Thank you very much to the lovely people in the live stream chat. Let me get right to the heart of it today. We're going to talk about the magical weapons that we spoke about last week. We're going to go into that a little bit more detail, and then we're going to speak about how do they transport these magical weapons. You've probably heard that they have these long-range missiles, right? Oh yeah, of course. They just put the warhead into the missile, and then when they press the button, off the missile goes into the sky, right? That's what people believe. We'll talk about that. And we'll talk about 37 things conspiratards believe. Today we're talking about gold and silver. That's right. Now, I don't want to offend any gold bugs out there, or any silver bugs, or precious metal believers or promoters. Maybe some of you fine folk out there right now have some gold or silver stashed away. That's totally cool. I'm not criticizing it. But we're going to talk about how some conspiratards tend to believe that, back in the long ago, we used to have currency that was backed by gold and silver, and things were much better back then. And what we need to do is return to that gold standard and all this other stuff that I actually did used to believe. I did used to believe a lot of that. So we're going to talk about that. We've got a lovely mailbag message to read, and by lovely I mean it's well written, and it is pertinent, it's to the point. But it is on a topic that a lot of people find very dark, but I do have to read this out. It comes to us from Dirty Benny, so we're going to talk about that. Plus I'm going to read out all of your comments in the live stream chat, so this should be a lot of fun. Let's just double check what the live stream chat are saying. Mike G says, best professional intro ever. Well, thank you, Mike G. It's very nice of you to say that. Jenna, They Lie, We See, Linda Curtis, Thirst for Truth, The Panic Master, lots of people saying nice things in the live stream chat. I do appreciate that. So where should we start today? Do we start with the things that the normies believe, the conspiratards believe, or the mailbag? How's this for an idea? You tell me in the live stream chat. Where would you like to start today? Do we start with the super duper long range missiles? Do we start with the gold standard? Or do we start with the ultrasound? Tell me in the live stream chat. The first of those three that gets 2 or more responses is going to be the first topic that we talk about. And while we're waiting for that, let me think about, last week. So last week we were talking about the magical super duper bombs that most people do believe in. They believe that the US, Russia, China, India, Pakistan, Israel maybe. There's a whole bunch of these countries that have these special magical weapons. Okay, not like a bullet, not like a hand grenade, not even like regular munitions. No. a super duper bomb, because it doesn't work with the regular properties of combustion, or it's not like a normal explosion. No. This works at a atomic level. And if you compress enough neutrons and electrons together, then it can create some kind of critical mass. And then that can create a chain reaction. And so if you design a device like this and then drop it in or just above a big city, guess what's going to happen? Kablamo. And you're going to have millions of people. They're going to die in an instant, or they're going to get flash burns. They're going to lose their eyeballs, possibly. I mean, it's just going to be hectic, man. And that could happen. I mean, it could be happening as we speak. As I speak these words to you right now, live or on delay. There could be missiles in the air, or planes in the air, or submarines in the water about to shoot one of these warheads. And by crikey, if they do, it's going to be big trouble. Because one team shoots at the other team, that team shoots back, and then there's just these missiles going left, right, and center. And next thing you know, man, you're living in a wasteland, all right? A wasteland. And then it gets worse, because check it out, man. All this debris goes up in the sky, and now you're going to get a nuclear winter. And this won't be any fun nuclear winter. You can forget skiing, you can forget snowboarding, you can forget tobogganing, forget the whole lot, mate. You'll be lucky to get some food, because now things can't grow. Things can't grow, other animals can't eat the plants. Animals that eat the other animals can't eat the animals, so you can't eat those animals, you can't even grow food. Boy, it'd be a terrible existence. It'd just be a horrible thing, wouldn't it? And that's what people believe can happen. Maybe some of you still believe to this day, and that's cool. You can believe whatever you want. So let's see what people are saying in the live stream chat. 2 people have said, in fact, the first 2 responses said ultrasound. All right, let's start with the ultrasound. Let's get this out of the way. I did go into detail about this back on episode number 7 or 8, maybe both 7 and 8. So you can check all, I should mention, by the way, you can check all the archives at ApostaSee.com. I take the live stream show, I then turn it into an MP3, I clip off all the unnecessary audio at the beginning and the end, and then bang, you just listen to the podcast, available for free in MP3 format. So you can go to ApostaSee.com, that's ApostaSee, see with your eyes. Episode 9, there it is right there. Episode number 8 was usury movement. We spoke about a whole bunch of things in that one. Elite taxes. You can just go through the list there, guys. So the MP3s and the videos are available on the website, archive style. And you can just click the button, you can stream it, you can download it to your computer or to your smartphone, whatever. It is super easy. That's ApostaSee.com. So if you're new to this show, go and check out the back catalogue. Many interesting conversations waiting for you right now. I also should say, by the way, and Serena did touch on this in the intro, this is being streamed live via the Dark Matter Digital Network, darkmatter.radio. Link in the info box below. There's a whole ton of shows there now. ApostaSee shows there once a week, as you know. You've got Infinite Plane Radio, which streams multiple times a day. I don't know how Tim does it. That dude is just full of energy. He does 3, 4, sometimes 5 shows a week. That's phenomenal. Good on him. He takes callers as well. So he does that through Dark Matter. You've got the Fakeologist show. You've got DN show, which I still haven't listened to that one yet, so I can't speak to the quality or otherwise, but I'm looking forward to checking that one out. But there's a whole ton of stuff there, guys. There's a bookstore now. I mean, every time you check it, there's something new. That's darkmatter.radio. Pardon me, and let me just have a glass of beautiful Bulgarian tap water. Just bear with me. I do apologise for the dead air. Pardon me, but if I don't clear my throat, I go all frog mode, and we don't want to have any of that now, do we? So with that being said, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, the mailbag. Now, let's take a look at this. This was a message left by Dirty Benny on April 2, so we're going back a couple of weeks. I've been a little bit too busy to read this one out over the last couple of episodes, but today I should be able to get this done. Just give me 1 second. I'll just go and tend to something for 30 seconds, guys. I'll be back in a jiffy. Testing. All right, we're back. Are we back? Are we back? Testing, microphone working. Sorry about that. That's the kind of thing that I edit out for the MP3 upload. So if you're listening on delay, you won't have even heard the delay, as it were. So let's carry on with this now. This is a dark topic, okay? This is why I love the magical weapons, because when you realize that nukes are a hoax, it's a massive white pill. It's like, they can't just press a button and wipe us all out, man. It doesn't work that way. That's good news, in my opinion. The truth about so-called ultrasound, it's kind of the opposite. It's almost like, you mean there might be a reason why everybody's so stupid? You mean there might be a very simple reason why there's so many problems with the children these days? It's a bit of a black pill. Anyway, I'm going to read out this comment because Dirty Benny did take the time to leave it. So let's read this out. It says, and by the way, guys, you can leave your mailbags at the mailbag section of ApostaSee.com. Don't need to sign up or register or anything. It's very simple. Just go down to the bottom and leave your comment, and then I do the rest by reading it out here at the ApostaSeeShow.com. And remember, I could sit here and monologue for hours, and some content creators love to do that. Me personally, I prefer to make it more interactive. The live stream chat, the mailbag, the voice mails that some people leave. I prefer it that way. Rather than just me sitting here monologuing, get other people involved. Get you guys involved. What do you think about these topics? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Do you know things that I don't know? Share with me. It's much more, for me, entertaining than me just sitting here. So this is from Dirty Benny. And I don't know where Dirty Benny's from. I've known him on the internet as a commenter for years, but I don't know much about him. But this comment, definitely worthy of attention. Check this out. He says, "Hey JLB, tried to post this multiple times in response to your YouTube on ultrasound over a 3-day period, and within 15 seconds, the comment disappeared immediately before my eyes. Welcome to CVAI." So what he's suggesting is that he's tried to leave this comment on my YouTube video about this topic, but it's been auto-deleted. And he's not suggesting that I'm deleting it, he's suggesting that the YouTube algorithms are deleting it, which is possible. I mean, YouTube does appear to be ghosting me, and not just me, many other content creators. We're getting ghosted big time by YouTube. It just is part of the cut and thrust of using YouTube, man. You want to use a free service? Well, you can't. This is my opinion. You shouldn't just sit there and complain when it doesn't work the way you want it to. It's a free service. In fact, you're kind of the product in a way. So YouTube is what it is. They're ghosting me, I believe. They're ghosting some of you guys. Have your own YouTube channels. You're being ghosted as well. It's just how it is. And apparently what Dirty Benny is suggesting is they also auto-delete comments, which would not surprise me. Anyway, he goes on to say, "Just wanted to say how brave you are," he's talking about me here, "for continuing to take on this disturbing, sinister ritual and calling it out." He's talking about so-called ultrasound. Which, by the way, if you're new here, it's called ultrasound. That's what they call, we're just going to put this little thing on your belly. We're going to put some liquid on your belly. Then we're going to put this little thing on there to see the baby. We're going to see the baby. Just going to check on the baby. Yeah? It's just sound. It's okay. It's not a big problem. It's just sound, man. You're not scared of sound, are you? No. Here's the issue. It's not sound. Nothing can hear this. Humans definitely can't hear it. Bats, whales, even though they supposedly have much better hearing than us, they can't hear it. The frequency that ultrasound is produced at, nothing can hear it. So to call it sound is, I think, an intentional misnomer, an intentional misdirection. Because you see, most humans, God bless them, are incredibly, let's be polite, naive. Let's call them naive. I usually call them stupid, but perhaps today I should just call them naive. They're very naive and they're very trusting. And they trust that the medical industry is here to help them. And they trust that if something they were doing was wrong, they'd know about it by now because there's watchdogs, there's 60 Minutes, there's a current affair, there's news programs. So hey, if everyone else is getting ultrasounds and no one's ever said anything bad about it, why would they ever question it? They never would. They don't question anything. God bless them. So if you call it sound, why would they question it? Now, if you called it, I don't know, ultra radiation, maybe some of them might be like, "Doctor, is the radiation safe?" You know what I mean? They might start asking questions. They probably wouldn't get very far with their questioning, but at least they'd be asking questions, all right? But when you call it sound, why would they question that? It's just sound. It's just sound, who cares? It's just sound. So Dirty Benny's saying that he considers me brave for continuing to take on this topic. He says, "I'm not sure if you are aware of 3D and 4D keepsake ultrasounds, complete with live theatre viewing for 20 plus family and friends. Souvenirs available for sale afterwards. Yeah, so I'm aware of that. Thank you, Dirty Benny, for bringing that to my attention. But in fact, I was aware of that. I spoke about that in my podcast about ultrasounds a couple of years ago, which I spoke about in depth in that episode a couple of weeks ago. And the point I was making was people like me, I'm in my early 30s, or early to mid 30s, I guess, 33. So I guess I can't even say early 30s anymore. I'm heading towards mid 30s. Boy, time does fly when you're having fun, doesn't it? But I was born in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s. Around that time, the ultrasound devices were, according to some people, between 1/10 and 1/100th as strong in terms of their energy output, which is measured in energy units per centimetre squared or something like this. In terms of their energy output, the stuff that I was ultrasounded with, 1/10 to 1/100th as strong as the ultrasound devices that were in use 5 to 7 years ago. So they might have even gotten worse since then, actually, because it's only going in one direction, isn't it? And so the point here is that if this radiation, which it is, it's not sound, it's radiation, and not all radiation is harmful, let's be clear, but if this particular radiation is harmful, if hypothetically speaking, then it's much more so now than it was back when I was in the womb. And most of you listening are probably older than me, so whatever you were exposed to, nothing compared to what the babies are being exposed to now. And one of the things they're being exposed to are these keep-safe ultrasounds. So once upon a time it was, just go for 2 ultrasounds just to check on the baby, and you can find out the sex of the baby, so it's good for you as well, and blah, blah, blah. That's how it started off, like the salesman getting his foot in the door. You know what I mean? Just let me speak to you for a few minutes, get the foot in the door, right? You go to slam the door, foot's in the door. Just let me speak to you about this great offer we've got, blah, 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 right? That was 30, 40 years ago. Now it has slowly crept into people going to their local shopping centres, and one of the stores, and this is happening in America, possibly in Australia as well. I haven't seen it in Australia, but I haven't been there for a couple of years, and how would I know? But definitely in America, this is a rising trend. There will be like little stores opened up, not run by any doctors, not run by any real specialists, just run by people who have enough qualifications, I guess, to put the transducer on a belly. And they do these keepsake videos, so not even under the pretense of health, not under any pretense of wellness for the baby, because there's a pretense with regular ultrasounds. The pretense is, it's good for the baby, because people believe, if they find a problem, they can fix it, which they cannot. There's no evidence that they can find anything that can help the baby in utero. Okay, that's the perception people have. That's the perception I used to have until I looked into it. There's no evidence to support it whatsoever. Okay, but at least there's a pretense. At least on the surface, there's some supposed medical reason why you would ultrasound the baby. At least there's a story, even if it's a bad story. At least there's something. With the keepsake ultrasounds that people are doing now, there's none of that. It is literally just for entertainment purposes. Okay? And what some people are doing, having these ultrasound parties with these so-called 4D ultrasounds. So it's the full 3D, you can see the baby in 3D and across time, and they call it 4D. And so you make these special videos, and they even invite their friends. Okay, so let's just call them Paul and Sophie. Paul and Sophie, they're pregnant, they're very excited, it's great news. What Paul and Sophie will do, because they're not very bright, God bless them, they will go and pay this company, hey, we'll come at a certain time, I don't know, 7 p.m. on a Wednesday. We're going to invite all our friends, and we're going to have a special showing party so they can see the little baby in the womb before it's born. And it's like a big celebration, right? Now, these people have no idea what the hell they're doing. So, I don't judge them for it. They don't know what they're doing. They're just people. People are not too bright, right? Here's what they don't realize they're doing. They are subjecting their baby for no good reason at all, other than their own amusement, their own entertainment, their own gratification, to untold levels of radiation, because that's what it is, remember. And I didn't even know that till a couple of years ago. It wasn't until I looked into ultrasound that I found out what the hell's going on. Because, guys, how would I know? I've never had children. I've never had a partner who was pregnant. So I've never gone through any of that nonsense. Okay? I've never had to. So how the hell would I know what's going on out there? Same with schools. I don't know what they teach in schools at grade prep 1, 2. How would I know? I don't know. And I'll put to you, most so-called parents don't even know. They just drop their kids off at school, and whatever happens, they just trust it. But my point is, until I looked into ultrasound a couple of years ago, how was I supposed to know what was going on? I had no idea. And then I find out all the things that I've just told you. Then I find out people are doing these keepsake or keep-safe videos and ultrasound parties. And if you don't know anything about the radiation and the scientific study that I was able to track down, which showed the long-term effects of the radiation from decades ago, if you don't know anything about that, you don't see a problem. Once you do look at the scientific studies that I spoke about in an episode a few weeks ago, now you can see a huge problem. Because what it boils down to is this. People are now subjecting their babies in the womb to 10, maybe 100 times more radiation than I was subjected to. They're doing it not for any pretense of medical purposes. And this radiation might very well have long-term effects on the growth of the baby. As crazy as that sounds, there's science to support this. And I list all of my evidence. I speak about all of my evidence in that episode a couple weeks ago, which you can find at ApostaSee.com. And also uploaded a podcast from a couple years ago. I remastered it, I suppose. I added a thing at the start and the end, re-uploaded it, and uploaded it to Podbean, available for public. Anyone can check it out. I cite my sources. It's all done. The work's all done. And so it all boils down to this. When you look out among the masses and you notice that they don't think for themselves, they can't think for themselves, they believe in invisible body-possessing demons, they get very upset when someone doesn't believe in the invisible body-possessing demons, they see that Dr. Fauci has said that you don't need to wear masks, then he said that you do need to wear masks, maybe you should wear 2 masks. They see that the news has changed the story, the government has moved the goal. They see all of this, and they don't see a problem. There could be many potential reasons for this. Maybe one reason, I'm just putting this out there as a possibility. Maybe because the people, when they were in the womb, many of them, increasingly so as we go on every year, this gets more and more full on, were radiated when they were in the womb, completely helpless. And this had a long-term effect on their development. Because you see, your brain, and I think most people accept there's some relationship between the brain and thoughts. I think most of us accept that. It seems reasonable. Well, guess what? The brain is also being subjected to that radiation in the womb. And so if you find yourself looking around going, man, the kids really are getting dumber, and there are more and more kids with learning problems, and more special schools getting built in my area, which was certainly true in the part of Melbourne that I grew up in, more and more special schools, quote unquote, being built, and more kids who have no communication skills and really seem completely and utterly hopeless and dependent on the state, on the system, just to get by. There's many potential explanations and reasons why this might be the case. I'm suggesting that maybe the neonatal, the in utero radiation of these little humans might be a big factor. That's what I'm suggesting. And yes, indeed, Dirty Benny, you're right, that people are now radiating their babies. No pretense of medical benefit. It's just for entertainment. So Paul and Sophie get over their friends. Bring your girlfriend, you bring your boyfriend. Bring some drinks, all right? There's only 20 of us. I'll bring my parents, and we'll get the girlfriend's parents over, and we'll have this big showing party. It'll be the first time that we see our little baby in the womb, right? They all get together, and there's some company that's been paid money to do this, and they see it on the big screen, and the pregnant mum gets on the table, and they're like, see, and it's like, oh, we can see it moving, and then of course they're like, they seem to know that we're ultrasounding them because it's moving away from the ultrasound. It's like, yeah, gee, I wonder why. I wonder why that little baby in the womb is moving away from the ultrasound. I wonder why. Why would it be doing that? It's almost like it knows. Now, how would it know? It's just sound, right? It's just sound. Goodness gracious me. Anyway, Dirty Benny continues on with the comment. As you might not know, most physicians rely on incompetent techs to make their findings. The tech fills out a worksheet with their findings and the radiologist dictates their reports. From that, with many docs not even looking at the images. Sono is extremely operator dependent and most techs are marginal at best. So what Dirty Benny is suggesting is that insofar as there is a medical element to this, the physicians, the doctors, they're relying on the radiologists, the technicians doing the ultrasound. But those technicians are incompetent, is what Dirty Benny is suggesting. Now that I can't speak to, I don't know how competent these techs are, but what could they possibly be competent in? These are people who their job is to radiate babies. We're not exactly dealing with the greatest philosophers of all time. We're not exactly dealing with the greatest thinkers of all time. These are people whose job, okay, day after day, is to sit there or stand there and radiate babies. Okay? Now, I'm not saying that they're evil. I'm not saying that they don't know what they're doing. They're just like most people, have no idea what they're doing. But if they're foolish enough that this is their job, is to radiate babies, I'm not going to assume they have any competence, any ability to do anything other than what they're trained to do. And their training is probably very poor. Just like training is poor for so many jobs these days. You know, it's a lowest common denominator kind of thing, isn't it? You know what I mean? Goodness gracious me. Just excuse me, I'm going to have a glass of Bulgarian tap water. What does this say? I think it's German. Can't read it. Oh, there you go. Is it just me? Does it look like a professor on the mug? Looks like a professor. Wonder if he's a professor of radiology. We like radiation. So anyway, Dirty Benny's comment is that the people doing the radiation aren't even competent at what they're doing. That wouldn't surprise me one bit, but I can't speak to that. For me, it doesn't. For me, even though this is an important point, it's marginal to the central point, which is that out there today, right now, there are people radiating their babies who have no idea what the hell they're doing. And it might very well be having long-term effects on the individual baby and on the broader masses, the broader society, that few people could ever possibly comprehend. That's really my central point. Dirty Benny continues, stay away from all allopathic and most naturopathic medical institutions. Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think, I don't want to get into the whole medical industry thing, but I just think if you had a car and the experts for the car would make money with you thinking that there was a weekly maintenance or a daily maintenance thing that you had to do for the car, and they sold you that maintenance, it might be in their interest to convince you there's something wrong with the car. Oh no, see this thing, you've got to put this special additive into the fuel mixture every day. But don't worry, we can sell it to you. In fact, don't worry, the government will pay for it. Here you go, take it. Right? Just sign off here, and then the government will reimburse us for you putting that additive into your car. Well, by way of analogy, the medical industry is not so different. They depend on people needing solutions to problems that they happen to find. And so I think there's a lot of people out there on all kinds. I mean, I don't know about your country, but in Australia, I'm guessing your country is similar. Once people get to their 40s or 50s, they're on 2, 3, 4, 5, they're on multiple medications, many of them daily medications, that do what exactly? They might do nothing. They might do something, it might be bad, I don't know, but why are people on so many medications? Well, because someone's making a lot of money from that. And the thing with the medical industry is it's largely, in some cases entirely, subsidized by the government, by the so-called taxpayer. So unlike with your car, where you might think to yourself, hold on, I think this mechanic's ripping me off, man. Like, surely whatever's wrong with the car isn't... I mean, this car's only 30 years old. I don't think it needs daily additives. Well, guess what? There are people in their 30s who've been convinced your body needs daily additives. And guess who's paying for it? Not you, so don't worry about it. Just, sign the dotted line, Medicare will take care of it, right? So this is a multi-billion-dollar industry, possibly multi-trillion-dollar industry, where the customers are more likely to take the solution because in their mind, they're not even paying for it, someone else is, right? And so I'm not saying that I think the medical industry is evil, and I don't think the doctors are evil, they're just indoctrinated morons. Oh, doctors are so smart. Smart? You take anybody and you put them in an environment where they've got to rote learn and memorize stuff, oftentimes cramming for exams, getting no sleep. You put them in an environment for 5, 6, 7 years, and then they come out the other side with debt that they can only pay off by doing what they're told to do, what they've been trained to do. You are going to get a bunch of indoctrinated morons. That's just what's going to happen. Even the ones who mean well, they're going to be very indoctrinated. I'm sure there are some good doctors out there. I'm sure there are. But why would you want to put yourself in that environment? So I think in extreme cases, such as a sudden traumatic injury, so there's blood loss or whatever, the medical industry, broadly speaking, can be beneficial. Okay, like if someone had a car crash at the front of my house and one of their arteries was severed, I wouldn't know how to fix that. Okay, I might come up with the idea to use a tourniquet, Carlos Arredondo style, to reduce the bleeding. But in terms of a proper fix, I'd be useless. That person's best off, in my opinion, going to the nearest emergency room. Okay, there are cases, I think, where the medical industry might be beneficial. But they're rare cases. Generally speaking, you want to stay the hell away from these places, in my opinion. The hell away. as far as you can get. That's just my opinion. Just my opinion. All right, Dirty Benny continues. Health and illness originates in the mind with placebo and nocebo. I agree with you. Now, without getting too tangential, let me make a point here. There are people out there who know that the invisible body-possessing demon is a hoax. It's not real. Okay, they know that. Many places, many different online communities, e-communities, different YouTube channels, blogs, Discord servers, Telegram apparently is very big right now. There's lots of people out there, guys. Pardon me, who know about, and this is one example, who know that the invisible body-possessing demon is a hoax. What a lot of these people are now doing is they're spending their time online reading other people complaining about the way the world is, listening to other people complaining about how the world is, telling the world how bad the world is, and more or less, whether they realize it or not, complaining about their lot in life. Now, I sympathize with them. I understand why they're doing it. They're frustrated by this and by this. I get it. But if you are surrounding yourself and if you are focusing on negative things in your life, what will that manifest in your world, whether it's physically, in your body, or in the world around you? If you focus your attention on the things about the world you don't like, what will that manifest, I wonder? And so that's why I generally these days, not entirely, but generally try to focus my own content away from the invisible body-possessing demons. And in the after shows for these calls, every one of these calls we do an after show where members of the website, my website, johnlebon.com, come and join me for an after call. Last week we had 4 or 5 people on the call. This week we might have just me and somebody else. It might be me and 2 people. It might be 10 of us. You never know how many people are going to turn up. But I generally try and say to people, we can talk about any topic you want. Last week we were talking about, among other things, a whole bunch of sinks. Tim Osmond was there talking about the volcano sink and all of that. Talking about, there was one individual who was talking about trying to cut back on his consumption of a certain substance because he used to think it was not as addictive as maybe it is. Because look at these days, people are being convinced that, certain drugs are like, yeah, it's a good drug and it's great that it's being legalized, and it's like, yeah, but maybe it does have bad effects on some people that for some reason people don't want to talk about anymore. I don't know. So we spoke about that a little bit. One individual brought up the idea that one of the reasons why a certain version of this drug is being promoted is because it's numbing people. It's just making them numb. And we just spoke about a whole bunch of topics that were not invisible body-possessing demon centric. Now, am I saying that people who sit around and talk about the invisible body-possessing demon are doing anything wrong? No, I'm not saying that. What I'm asking is, what does that lead to? Focusing on the bad. And so it is with our health. If you are being convinced that you live in a bad world, or if you have convinced yourself that you're a victim of something, then what's that going to do to your body? What's it going to do if you're constantly focusing on the negative? Is my question for you. So I get where Dirty Benny's coming from. And the nocebo thing is huge. There's placebo and nocebo. I think that's a huge part of the way that we operate as people. If we're convinced that something is good for us, it might be good just because of our thoughts. If we're convinced that something is bad for us, it might be bad for us just because we're convinced it's bad for us. And again, without going down that path too far, if you are listening to people convincing you that you're a victim to be alive today, and everything's bad and it's getting... If you're listening to those people, what do you think that's doing to your world? Seriously. I get it, people are frustrated with what's going on, but there's still heaps of cool things in the world, man. Heaps of cool things. And to focus on the bad things, to me, is asking for trouble. But maybe some people were put in this realm for trouble. Maybe that's really what they're here for. So, we'll leave it there. So Dirty Benny continues, kudos for calling out the naked emperor with no clothes. I think he's referring specifically to the radiation. But maybe he's speaking more in general. I mean, I do this skepticism thing. I apply it across the board. What do we know? How do we know it? Why do we think we know it? Who convinced us? What's our evidence? And it turns out when you apply that kind of framework to just about everything we've been told, just about, not quite literally, but just about everything, turns out it's all crap. It's all complete crap. So many things we've been told. Including, don't worry guys, it's just sound. It's just sound. I'm just going to put this transducer over the baby and don't you worry, everything's going to be just fine. Invite your friends, have a couple of drinks. We're just going to radiate the baby. We like radiation. Alright, so that's Dirty Benny's comment. Hey Dirty Benny, thank you very much for the comment. If you're interested in johnlebon.com, send me an email. I'll hook you up to say thanks for this lovely comment with a 1-month membership on the house to johnlebon.com if you're interested. I've made this offer to maybe maybe 8 or 10 people have left comments or voicemails on ApostaSee so far, and most of them have taken up the offer of the free month, and I haven't got a single piece of bad feedback since from any of the people. None of them have checked out what's on the other side of the paywall and then come back to me and said, JLB, like, I wish I'd never found this stuff, it's too dark, whatever. Not a single person. Not a single person has given me bad feedback. And some of them have left very nice feedback, like, JLB, that's really cool, blah, blah, blah. So I really appreciate that. So if you want 1 month on the house at johnthebond.com, Dirty Benny, send me an email, I'll take care of it, and you'll be a member for the rest of April. Let's say for the rest of April. That'll give you plenty of time to download what you want and get up to speed. So thank you very much, Dirty Benny. Now let's go to the live stream comments. What are people saying? Let's see what people have to say here in the live stream comment. Let's find out. Let's see. Alpha 4 says, actually just read the ultrasound thread on Nopal. Pardon me. Now, Nopal is Reddit, is a Reddit subreddit called Conspiracy Nopal. And so Alpha 4 is saying he just read the thread there. He says that it's... So what happened was I posted a thread on that subreddit. I use Reddit quite a lot, different subreddits. And what Alpha 4 has said is that he read the thread that I wrote there a couple weeks ago. And he says that it's one of those topics that's very tough for folk to remain rational when discussing. Because it hits close to home for most. They seek comfort in appeal to authority consensus. Yes, this is true. There are many people who might know about media fakery, and even to an extent science fakery or history fakery. But when it comes to things like ultrasound, they revert back to baby mode. And I've seen this. I've seen this in real time. Intelligent people who know about so many of the hoaxes, ultrasound comes up in a conversation, they revert back to baby mode. Right? It's like watching a full-grown adult, like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids or something. Right? And they've got the pacifier in their mouth with their little rattle, right? And all of a sudden it's like, hold on, but you know about all the other fakery, but you can't even have a rational, non-emotional conversation about ultrasound? No, they can't. Because people are not as intelligent as we think they are. None of us are probably as intelligent as we think we are, right? We're very biased and emotional, and it's difficult to remain logical on things that cut close to home. So especially for people who've been parents, who've irradiated their babies, right? Who know what they've done. Of course, there's going to be this element, not for all of them, but for some of them, as soon as the topic comes up and they kind of start to realize, it starts to click in their head what they've done, no, forget about it. It's hopeless. And I've literally watched this happen in real time, multiple times, and I don't blame these people. Okay, first I don't blame anyone who did the radiation, because you didn't know any better. So why'd you feel guilty? If it was yesterday, a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever it was, you didn't know any better. And you can't fix it. So what's the point of feeling guilty, right? You didn't know any better. So why'd you feel guilty for that? That's ridiculous. And I also don't blame people who do still feel guilty, and then that manifests in attacking people like JLB for telling them the truth. Okay, I don't take it personally. I have been attacked by multiple people for some of the things I've tried to share. I don't take it personally. I understand where it comes from. I understand what I'm dealing with here. It's an emotional response from people who haven't made peace with, certain elements of their past. And I think most of us have things from our past we haven't made peace with. And so for some people, if it is that they irradiated their babies, for just one example, JLB comes along and says, hey guys, I've been reading some scientific papers that no one seems to know about, but they're there, they were published in the Lancet. This ain't no kooky conspiracy theory. Look at this study I found in the Lancet. Look at this other study I found. Look at all this research I've done with the people who make these machines, right? Look at all this stuff I found. Here's my conclusion. I don't blame people who radiated their babies for being like this JLB guy, stuff this guy. All right? I don't blame it. I get where it comes from. I totally get where it comes from. So I don't take it personally. But it is immature, and you haven't grown up yet. That's just the fact of the matter, if you're doing that. All right. Lee Harvey Hitler says, you're not supposed to question the doublethink. Well, yeah, people doublethink all the time. It's part of being a human, I think, especially a modern human. What with all our modern ideas and products. Let's have a look. Lee Harvey Hitler says, I know the boogeyman isn't real, and I haven't had as much as a cold for the past year. So he says, I know that the boogeyman, the invisible body-possessing demon, isn't real, and I haven't had as much as a cold for the past year. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. I do not believe in invisible body-possessing demons, and that's look, I listen to these people and they're talking about how, oh, look, you know, the government is paying people to claim or to put the demon got them on their birth certificate, or look at this, you know, health officer who's contradicting themselves, or look at these figures from the Bureau of Statistics that don't add up and the deaths. Like, I get people focusing on all of that, but for me, it boils down to this. You cannot be possessed by an invisible body-possessing demon. Okay? That's that simple. All this other conversation is at best superfluous, and in many cases a red herring. If I'm talking to someone and they still believe in invisible body-possessing demons, then nothing I show them about Fauci contradicting himself, or the figures not adding up, or people getting paid, like the government gives people money to put on their death certificate for their grandma, that it was whatever. I'm not saying that that's important. What I'm saying is, why would I even waste my time? Just give me a second. Pardon me. Yeah. So if someone believes all of that, why do I waste my time? If someone believes in invisible body-possessing demons, that person is, again, kind of like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. But like not... Because in that movie they kind of shrink, but they're still kind of grown up. I mean, not just shrink, but infantilize. Honey, I infantilize the kids. They're just babies again. With the pacifier, the little rattle. You know what I mean? What do you call those things that dangle above the cot where babies... What do you call those things, you know? It dangles and distracts the baby. What do you call those things? The little dangle things, you know what I'm talking about? That's what you're dealing with. If someone still believes in invisible body-possessing demons, why would I try and have a rational conversation with this person? It's ridiculous. It's like if you met someone who came from some weird religious sect and they believed, you know, in demons. Like, oh, don't do yoga. Don't do yoga. And it's like, why not? Because yoga opens up your mind to demons. You'd be like, okay, if they believe that, why would I sit here and try and explain to them the benefits that I get from doing yoga, right? The calmness and the conscientiousness and the peace and just the better feeling. None of that matters to this person because they believe in freaking demons, man. Which, by the way, God bless them. Let them believe in demons. I don't care. But if they believe in demons, why would I try and have a rational conversation with this person? It's ridiculous. And guess what? All of these people around you believe that they can be possessed by an invisible body-possessing demon. So as far as I'm concerned, that's the end of the conversation. There's no point talking about it. Better off talking about work or sport or, you know, how's your children going or whatever, stuff that they can relate to. Because when you want to have a grown-up conversation about things like what's going on in the world out there, they're hopeless because they believe in demons. And someone who believes in demons wants someone to protect them from the demons. You see, it's very simple when you sit down and think about it. All right, there's so many comments. I'm not going to be able to get through all your comments, guys. Thank you all for coming out. I'll try and get through a couple more here. Lee Harvey Hitler says, have you ever looked at the topic of tobacco? Positive cognitive benefits. The main tobacco growing before mass cultivation was what's called Amazonian tobacco. I don't know about Amazonian tobacco, but I can tell you this. I do not believe that smoking tobacco causes cancer. I don't believe that for a second. I used to, by the way. What I do believe is that by putting these pictures on the packages of people and by indoctrinating them at school that smoking causes cancer, that can have like a nocebo effect that manifests in hypochondria, paranoia, and possibly even physical illness, psychosomatic illness, and maybe even worse than that, illness in people because they believe it. Instead of enjoying a social cigarette with workmates at break and just feeling better, because that's what it does, it makes people more social and they feel good, they're in a good feeling and blah, blah, blah. Now they've got in the back of their mind, oh, this is killing me. It's going to make me like that guy who's lost all the hair off his body, he's all skinny, lost all his teeth, and he's like in the hospital bed, like, because that's what they see. You see what I'm trying to say? And I've spoken about all this many times before, but I think where you're going with this, Lee Harvey Hitler, is that tobacco is not harmful, it might actually be beneficial. Yeah, I'm 100% open-minded to that. 100%. Put it this way. The same people who are trying to convince you that there's body-possessing demons on the loose are also the people who, since you were a child, were convincing you that this plant that grows in the ground that makes people feel good when they smoke it is killing them? Really? And we're not going to question that? Give me a break. We like radiation. Alright, Adrian Messenger says, I heard from 2 women who said that the ultrasound scam is just one of the unnecessary horrors awaiting pregnant women who make the mistake of opting for hospital birth. Yeah, hospital birth, yeah. Imagine that. You're going to bring a new life into the world and you're going to do it at a place where people go to die. and most people, when you point that out, they're just like, oh, well, yeah, that's where the safe place. Because people are convinced now that having children is this dangerous thing. They've watched too much ER, Chicago Hope, and all the other crap on TV. And they're now convinced that giving birth, which is one of the most natural things you can do, at least women anyway, is dangerous. You know what I mean? I've even had intelligent people try and tell me that, oh, they had to induce the labour because the baby had been in there too long. And I'm like, let me get this straight. You believe that the mother and the baby, working together, mind you, because both their lives are dependent on this, can't work out on their own when it's time for the baby to come out? You really believe that? Of course they do. They're people. And people are, like we said at the start, naive, and that's being polite. Some people would call them stupid or moronic or incredibly unintelligent. Some people would say that. But not me, I'm polite. I just call them naive. They're just naive. They just don't know better. They just don't, they could know everything I'm talking about, but they're just naive. They're just naive. They just believe in demons. They believe they have to go to a death house to give birth because the mother and the baby can't work it out for themselves. They believe they've got to radiate the bait. They're just naive, guys. They're just naive. JLB, you're too harsh on the normies. You're too harsh, man. You're too harsh. Anyway, so enough about that. So that's all the comments, guys. Now we're coming towards the end of the hour. Boy, this time does fly. So let's go to 37 things normies believe. Last week I was talking about these magical weapons which can destroy millions of humans instantly and suddenly. You know, the special bombs, the special... You know what I mean? Like Terminator 2. I was talking about this last week. Terminator 2, there's Sarah Connor. And she sees the children on the playground. And she's behind the fence. And the children are all happy on the little seesaw and the swings. And the mothers are happy pushing their kids around. And in the distance is Los Angeles, LA City, I suppose. But Sarah knows that something's wrong. She knows what's about to happen. And everything's kind of in slow motion. And there's like a background hum. And it's like, ooh, and it's like... The kids are like, yay! And you can kind of hear, it's like a beautiful mixture of the children and the happiness, but this strange whooshing sound in the background, like a high-pitched sound. And there's Sarah Connor, and it's starting to get a little creepy. She walks towards a fence and she's shaking the fence. You can hear the metal shaking. I'm like, what's about to happen? And then it happens. Pew! Whiteness. A blinding white light. And then it happens, the pyroclastic flow of the nuclear blast. And then the screaming, ah! All these children, man, are burning up, man. Like they're burning, there's like internal, like spontaneously combusting. And people are falling over and their eyes are all messed up. And then the flow's coming through, it's knocking over trees, knocking over buildings. It's a nuclear holocaust, man. It's the craziest stuff you ever seen in your life. People kind of turn to stones, they get smashed, they get broken up, man. It's the most horrible thing. That's intense. And people believe that's actually possible too, by the way. Goodness gracious me. So we discussed last week why that is in fact a hoax. It's not possible. It has never happened. It will never happen because the whole thing is in fact a hoax. And nobody died and nobody got hurt. That's a fact. And anybody who tells you otherwise is in fact a lie. But how do they convey these magical weapons? How do they convey them? Why, they've got intercontinental ballistic missiles. They've got these planes that can fly long distances. And they've got these intercontinental ballistic missiles. So in Failsafe, the 2000 version, which I went and watched a few nights ago, for the first time in 20 years, it's a plane, it's a long distance bomber. In the day after, from 1983 I want to say, it's these long distance rockets, right? The silo opens up, out goes the rocket. And there are these poor people of Kansas who we've built an emotional connection to because we're watching them. There's a young girl who wants to get married and her boyfriend can't wait to get married. He wants to take her off and have some fun with her now. And she's like, oh, okay, let's go. And then you got the families, they're just dealing with their affairs. And then you got the people at university getting ready for the rest of their life. And we're starting to build an emotional bond with these people. But then it happens. The silos open up and into the sky go the rockets. And then there's like the guy who knows about this stuff and he's like, if we're shooting our rockets at Russia, they've already started shooting theirs at us. How long we got? 30 minutes. Uh-oh. And we, as viewers, we've already built this emotional connection with the people. And it's like, we know it's about to happen, but we don't know how bad it's going to get. So those long-distance missiles, people believe in these intercontinental ballistic missiles. Let me show you guys the V2 rockets, okay? Which are like the proto-intercontinental ballistic missile. Let me show you some of these things. Let me show you some. Those of you who are listening at home, don't worry, I'll explain it to you. What I'm showing on the screen are clown rockets. They're even painted like clown rockets. Now these are from the late 30s and the 40s from World War II. These are being shot over the ditch, supposedly. And they are painted quite appropriately like clown rockets, because that's what they are. These are clown rockets. Okay? Look at them. They're a joke. They're meant to look like a joke. They're meant to be painted like a joke because they are in fact a joke. They are ridiculous. V2 rockets are in fact a hoax. Now I don't have time to go into the specifics of why they're a hoax in this particular presentation. So those of you who are like, JLB, you can't just say it's a hoax, you've got to prove it to me. Actually, my dear listener, dear viewer, I don't have to prove anything to you. If you want to believe these rockets are real, that's fine by me. I don't even care anymore. I don't care. The masses are meant to believe ridiculous stories, including these crazy rockets. Now these were like I said, the proto-intercontinental ballistic missiles. Let's take a look at a few of these things. JLB, are you saying that you don't believe they can shoot rockets long? That's exactly what I'm saying. But I've seen video footage of... Yeah, what have you seen? Well, I've seen the video footage of the rockets going into the distance. Yeah. Well, and then I just assume they keep going. Yeah, you assume that. Well, I mean, they wouldn't be... like lying about that. No, they wouldn't lie about something like that. No. So anyway, 37 things normies believe. These magical weapons can be transported by long-distance, accurate, specialized missiles. The normies believe that. God bless them. My beloved, naive, normie people believe this. I say let them believe. Let me tell you this, guys. During the week, I spoke with, this was a few days ago, Ray West from Big Lies. If you're a member of johnthebond.com, I recommend you go and check this out. At the moment, the first and second hours are only available to members of johnthebond.com, but I will make the first hour available publicly, and that's where we got through all the nuke stuff. There was a lot of other controversial topics that we saved for the second hour. Pardon me. But the nuke stuff, nuclear bombs, nuclear energy, and nuclear submarines in particular, I made sure we covered all of that in the first hour because my intention was to release the first hour publicly. So if you are a member of johnthebond.com, go and check out my chat with Ray West. It was one of the best conversations I've had in this scene in 7 years. I've been interviewing people for, well, not just interviewing, but I've been podcasting for about 7 years now. And I've released well over 100 podcasts. Well over 100. And then I've been involved in probably 100 other recorded calls as well. So we're probably looking at about 200, maybe more, of these recorded conversations. This one is top 5 easily, for me personally. Because Ray West had a huge influence on my work back in 2015. Not just back when I was still new to this scene. Not just with his nuke stuff, but also with his basic idea of what's your evidence. Like he goes out, I've got video footage he's got video footage of it on his site, and I play a clip of it in the conversation. He goes out to regular people and just says, do you mind if I ask you an intellectual question? And they're like, that's all right. And he says, without commenting on the truth or otherwise, have you heard the theory that nuclear weapons are a fraud? And of course, most people have never heard that theory. So in 2015, when I was hearing this guy suggesting that these things are not real, and then speaking to the regular people, and it dawned on me, well, if he were to ask me what's my evidence, I got none. I got no evidence these things are real. Which of course leads somebody like me to go and think, well, let me go and find out let me see what evidence there is. And then when you start going down that path, it's not long till you realize, wow, this is Plato Cave style stuff, isn't it? We've got the shadows on the walls, but in terms of an actual empirical evidence, we got nothing. So Ray West was hugely influential for me back in 2015, but this is the first time we've spoken. First time we've ever spoken was a few days ago to organise this particular call, and then the first recorded call we had was this call. And so we recorded it. I stayed up all night. I wanted to release it that day. Cleaned up all the audio, because sometimes when you record these things, there's some issues with the audio. So I cleaned all of that up, added the clips, and the end product is 2 hours of fantastic conversation. I think you will love it. So if you're a member of johnthebond.com, go and check it out. If you're not a member, make sure you're on the mailing list, and I will send you the first hour. the mailing list of johnlebon.com. The link is in the info box below. You can also find it at johnlebon.com. It's very easy to find. Just an email address, and then just type anything in first name. Doesn't matter. I don't really care. But you need to put at least one letter, or else it won't let you register. But the name doesn't really matter. What matters is the email address. And then I will send you soon the first hour, the most important hour, I would suggest, of that conversation. At least insofar as the nuke hoax is concerned. I'll send that to you sometime soon. But if you remember, just go and check it out straight away. Terrific conversation, and the feedback so far has been terrific. So getting back to this 37 things I always believe, so what I did was, in the lead up to my chat with Ray, I was like, I'm going to go back, because I don't really watch many movies. I was like, I'm going to go back, I'm going to set up my big screen TV that comes with the apartment here, and I'm actually going to watch some movies. So I went and watched Terminator 2, Judgment Day again for the first time. I think I watched it again maybe a year or two ago. I used to watch it. I watched that movie so many times when I was a kid. I loved it. I was a big Arnold Schwarzenegger fan, and I loved Terminator. So I watched that many times as a kid. God knows what effect the programming had on my brain. Fortunately, I've been able to undo a lot of that. I've been able to deprogram a lot. So I went and watched that. The next night, I watched Failsafe, the 2000 version with George Clooney, which I saw in 2000, haven't seen since. That was full on. Then the next night, I watched The Day After, which I'd never seen before. And that was full on. So I spent the 3 nights before my chat with Ray watching the programming. Why do people believe in this stuff? And I'm telling you, man, the programming, if you haven't gone and seen Failsafe, The Day After, or Terminator 2, and those are just 3 examples, there's others, but I think those are 3 of the main examples you want to check out. The effect that the programming has on the masses. They're defenseless. They've got no chance of undoing the programming, man. They've been programmed within an inch of their lives, haven't they? Yeah, so anyway, that's 37 things normies believe. The magical weapons, the so-called nuclear bombs. If you want to hear more of my material, johnlebon.com is the place to do that. And of course, Ray West's website, biglies.org. Go and check that out. A wealth of information. Getting into the nitty-gritty. What is a story about where nuclear bombs come from, or how nuclear energy works? Like, let's study the official story in depth. That's what he does at biglies.org. For me, I'm like, that's all good stuff, excellent stuff to check out. But for me, it's as simple as this. What's your evidence that these bombs exist? There is none. For me, it's as simple as that. Same as the invisible body-possessing demons. They're not real. I don't believe in them. It's that simple. Okay, so 37 things conspiratards believe. We're going to come back and talk about this one, item number 7. And remember, you can check out 37 things normies believe and 37 things conspiratards believe. They're both available for free at johnlebon.com. Go and check them out. And we're going through them one by one through this series of ApostaSee. You can check out the whole list, links in the info box below. Item number 7, we'll come back to this next week, of the things that conspiratards believe, is that if only gold and silver were used again as money, we'd all be wealthier and the money lenders would lose their usurious power. I'm going to come back and talk about that one next week because we're out of time today, but let me just put this to you. Chances are, if you're a regular person, you probably believe that at some point people were walking around with wheelbarrows of money. You probably believe that. That's what most people believe. Normies and conspiratards believe this. That at some point too much money was printed and people were walking around with wheelbarrows. What if I told you that this is an obvious hoax? An obvious hoax. The moment you remove yourself from the story, remove yourself from your beliefs and the emotions, just think about it objectively, that's a ridiculous story. That's a ridiculous story. That people were pushing around wheelbarrows, and then people said to me, oh, but JLB, look, I looked it up on Google, there's a photo of a guy with a... Yeah, so what? Well, there's a photo of a guy with a wheel... Yeah, we're looking at it right now. So what? Well, why would there be photos of people with wheelbarrows of money if it's not real? Yeah, why? Why would they do that, do you think? Well, because they're telling us the truth of what happened. I see, all right. I understand. All right, so that is the end of... we'll come back and talk about that one in more depth because this is very important. Very important. Money is magic. Most people are engaged in a form of magic every day without realizing it. When they go to work to trade their time for money, when they go to a shopping center and spend their money on things, we are engaged in an act of magic that most people are oblivious to every day. This is a form of power, money. So what we give up to get the magic, the magical thing, and what we use that magical thing for, we're taking part in a form of magic that leads to a manifestation, a change in our world. So you might buy yourself a new glass tumbler for your beautiful Bulgarian tap water. Or you might buy yourself a pen because your last pen ran out of ink. Okay, so now this thing is part of your world because you spent money on it. Everyday people are doing that. And what kind of worlds are we manifesting for ourselves? if we give up our time, which we can't get back, for money, and then we spend most of our disposable income, because some is required for the place that we live in and the food, the basic foods, what have you. But then with what's left, we spend that on alcohol, drugs, Netflix and other trivial entertainment, unnecessary clothes, for argument's sake. Any of these things, well, that's the world that we're manifesting for ourselves. So why would we complain about that? That's what we are doing. And I would put to you that many people don't realize what they're manifesting in their own world because, and this is just one potential explanation, they've never really thought about it. They've never really thought consciously or intentionally about what kind of world they're manifesting with how they spend their time or their money. So they are basically pawns on a chessboard, really. They have no idea what they're doing. They'll complain about the chessboard. They'll complain about being a pawn on the chessboard, but they never really think to themselves, yeah, but why am I acting like a pawn? Why am I doing this? They never really think about it. And I put to you, there are some people out there who are using their time well. There are some people out there using their money well. They're manifesting the kind of world that they want to see. And I have to thank all of you out there for just one example, the people supporting johnthebond.com and of course ApostaSee.com. It might be a couple dollars a week, depends on what currency you use, but you're helping to manifest a world where there's more content like this, and I can't thank you enough for that. I'm using my time to do this. I've spent 7 years doing this, so I'm putting my time into manifesting a world where this is the kind of conversation people can have. Some of you guys are putting your money into it and your time. I'll see some of you at the John the Bond after show in just a moment on the John the Bond server. But guys, whether you realize it or not, you're engaging in a form of magic. That is thoughts, which are not physical, leading to a change in the physical world. And money is a huge element of that. So we're going to come back and talk about that next week on 37 Things Conspiratards Believe for ApostaSee show number 11. Good timing, 11. Very magical number. What's the phrase? Let me think. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. 11 words. The magic 11 words. Perfect timing. Because next week we're talking about 37 Things Conspiratards Believe. Item number 7. If only gold and silver were used again as money, we'd all be wealthier and the moneylenders would lose their usurious power. Well, what they can't do is lend you their time. Only you have time. And what do you do with that time? Well, that's up to you. Let me thank you for spending some of your time listening to me right now. For ApostaSee show episode number 10, I was going to play this clip. We'll come back to it next week. This is Nixon talking about the dollar.
The third indispensable element.
Basically, it goes on to say, words to the effect of, we are temporarily suspending convertibility of the dollar. And that was back in the early 70s. That was like 50 years ago. And of course, it wasn't temporary. And where's money going now? You all know where it's going now. Cash, currency as we know it, will become less and less of what people use. And it's going to become digital. And then we get into the whole digital element of this magic. So next week's show is going to be massive. I hope to see you guys there. But that'll have to do us for today. I'll see some of you for the after show in just a moment at the JLB Discord server. But for those of you who are not on the Discord server, let me explain to you. We spent about an hour or so chatting in the after show. I record it, I upload it for the other members. So it's not just the conversation you be part of, you can actually hear that conversation. And there's now about 13 or 14 hours worth of after calls just from the first 10 episodes of ApostaSee. So there's a lot of content waiting for you there. And that's where the conversation can be more, how do we say, liberal, can be more open, because we don't have to worry about the YouTube censorship, do we? So if you've enjoyed any of this kind of conversation, maybe you want to check out the JLB after calls. If you're a member, you can go and join right now. If you don't have an invite link to the Discord, just send me an email, I'll send you another invite. And if you're not a member of johnthebond.com, it's very easy to join. It might be time for you to consider doing that. Join for 1 month. If you don't like it, you can just cancel. Very easy. But probably you will enjoy it if you've enjoyed any of this presentation today. So let's just go over those main points again. The mailing list, I'm going to send to you my conversation with Ray West very shortly. If you're already on the mailing list, I also sent out the previous conversations. So you want to check your inbox, your promotions, your social folder, your spam folder. Check everything. You're going to find some conversations, normally just for members waiting for you right now for free. If you're not on the mailing list, want to go and join, link in the info box below. ApostaSee, all the archives are there in video and MP3 format, the mailbag. Big thanks to Dirty Benny. Send me an email, I'll hook you up with a JLB membership on the house. Big thank you for your comment about the ultrasound. Dark Matter Digital Network, big thanks to Tim Osmond for the platform he's providing there. Guys, we don't know how long YouTube is going to let us do what we're doing right now. It might be another 10 years, who knows? But Tim Osmond has a platform that you as a content creator, or me as a content creator, and if you're interested, you can do this as well. he'll restream your shows, and he controls that network, so you don't have to worry about censorship like we do on other platforms. So big thanks to Dark Matter Radio and Tim Osman of the Infinite Plane Society. 37 Things Normies Believe, 37 Things Conspiratards Believe, links in the info box below. My chat with Ray West, go and check it out if you are a member of johnlebon.com. We spoke a little bit about V2 rockets and intercontinental ballistic missiles, I should say. I released content on this years ago. I've kind of already clocked that level of this programming, but hopefully you guys get where I'm coming from. Nobody died, nobody got hurt. Next week we're going to talk about the wheelbarrows of money. Give me a break. And next week I will play some Richard Nixon as well. So big thanks to everybody for all your comments. I might read out a couple more comments actually, because there's probably a few of you in there. So let me just go and find you right now. Big thanks to all the people in the live stream chat. Let's take a look here. 88 Finis Temporis, sensational YouTuber, says, the Terminator is the name for the line that separates night from day. Usually the change from night to day is a slow process, but during this solar eclipse, it goes from night to day instantly. That's interesting, I didn't know that. Let's see. Lee Harvey Hitler says the only winning solution is not to play. In some elements of life, I would agree with that. Tim Osman says, I think the St. Vincent volcano was a psyop using dynamite to scare people into vaxing. Guys, I know that sounds crazy, but if you listen to last week's after show, it'll all make sense. I know it sounds crazy, but there's a lot to this. Tim Osman says that on the Dark Matter Radio app, they've got more than 200 people listening live. So even though my live stream on YouTube only has between 30 and 40 people, there's more than 200 on his app listening to this as we speak. So all of you listening on the TuneIn Radio app for Dark Matter, by the way, welcome to you. I don't know if there's a facility to leave comments there. If there were, I'd read out your comments. But I'll try and see what we can do there. See if there's some way we can get you guys to be more interactive. But if you're out there listening anywhere in the world through Dark Matter to this show, live or on delay, big welcome and thanks to all of you guys. And remember, ApostaSee.com, all the archives are waiting for you. Let's see. Oh, well, look, there's so many comments, I can't read them all out, but big thanks to all of you who were in the live stream chat. I'll see you next week at midday US Eastern Daylight Time. We started a bit late today because I woke up a little bit later than I would normally like to wake up. But next week we're back to midday US Eastern Daylight Time. It's a 1 hour show, and then we do the after show, which I'm about to go and get to right now. So big thanks once again to all the people making this possible. Hope you enjoy the show. Go and check out ApostaSee.com, and I will see you next week. This has been ApostaSee number 10, number 10 on April 18, 2021. I'm John the Bond coming to you from Bulgaria, and I'll see you guys in about 7 days' time. Until then, take care of yourselves, and I hope you enjoy the world for what it is. There are still good things here to be happy for. Even if there's some things we don't like, there's things to be grateful for, and I hope you guys are grateful. I know that I certainly am. So thank you once again, and until next time, take care of yourselves. And of course, I'm trying to play the outro. This is meant to be a very smooth thing. Let's try this again. I tell you what, man, technology. Normally I get this done pretty well, don't I? Normally I'm pretty good at the smooth transition. Let me see. Why is this playing up? Let's try this again. Come on, Sereno. There she is.
You've been listening to the ApostaSee Show, streamed via the Dark Matter Digital Network in association with the Infinite Plane Society. Check out ApostaSeeShow.com for all past episodes and to learn more about how we plan to make apostasy great again. It's okay to question what we think we know, and that's the whole point of the ApostaSee Show. Until next time, take care of yourselves.